Hey y'all, I thought we'd make another painting video today. This is Inez Lehman on keeping it clean using the smear technique. I'm going to start out with some acrylics as usual and get the basic outline. Starting out with some Bob Ross black gesso. I like Bob Ross black gesso, but if you want to use some other type of acrylic paint, that works too. And show you the other colors of acrylic paint as I load them on my palette. Open the lid and get just a fair amount on your palette. I like a big palette, so you may want to get a palette kind of like this. Just a small amount of black, about like that. And let's see, we're going to do a water wheel. Falls Mills is what I'm modeling this after. It's a local place here in Tennessee, Franklin County. They have ground meal, and it's an old-fashioned water wheel. It's really spectacular, so I thought we'd do that today. Here's some red, and you can get this from just about anywhere. You can get it at Walmart, decent size. Put a little red on here, just a small amount. About like that. And it's going to have some vines hanging off of it. I'm going to try my best to get those vines right. So a little yellow and blue to make green. Put a little yellow here. Actually quite a fair amount of yellow, you see. And I'm going to put blue in two places on my palette because of water. And then also the green that I'm going to make the vines and things of that sort. And a little blue right there. And a little dab in here. You can always add more, but you can't take away. So you can't get it back into the bottle, so put a little on here. Then you can always add more. Save you a little bit of money. And let's get started. I have a acrylic brush. It's just a regular old brush, 1 inch. You can buy it, and this is Fine Touch. You can buy it in a package of 3. It comes in with this size, the 1 inch, the 2 inch, and I believe it even comes with a 3 inch, but I don't use that one. It's just a little too big for me. May not be for y'all, but you can get that, and we're gonna take and mix the color because I want to make sure I've got the right shade of green so far. And it looks like I got a little too much blue, in fact. So I'm mixing that up with the yellow, making a nice sap green, nice shade of green right there. Okay. So, got that. And first off, let's go into a lighter color that I'm not gonna clean the brush or anything. Going into a lighter color that won't mix very well with other colors. So I'm going into the red. I'm going to paint the building first. And the sky will be blue, so the background of trees, I won't forget that. And I have a little red. And I just want to make this one on a 16 by 20 canvas is what I've got this one on. And this is a sideways picture. So I want to put my building about right here. And it's red brick. And we're going to add just a little ivy just hanging off, looking nice. Nice and pretty. Very scenic area out there in the woods and all kinds of things around, way out in the country. And a small amount at the top of red because we're going to make the water wheel. And I'm just going to draw a circle with the red just to make sure that I know where the water wheel is. And it's going to be down into the water, so you want to go a little below the building and just make it a circle, and it's going to be down below the water because it goes through the water and it's powered by the water. And get the rest of the red here. Now the building is actually on land. it's not in the water. So you might want to raise it up a bit and just try to get a good sight on that one. Now I'm trying to make my brush strokes in a particular way, that way I know where everything's at. And there's the rest of the building behind the water wheel. Just filling in all the spaces now. I know my basic layout. You don't have to do something this complicated. You can do anything with the smear technique, keeping it clean using the smear technique. You can do all kinds of things. And this is just a really good way to just let out your frustrations. And you know, there's a white canvas syndrome, I call it, because you get in front of that white canvas and you're not quite sure what to do. But if you think of something, or perhaps you've seen something and it's really nice, and it's just a perfect picture, and you want to get it on canvas, all you have to do is just get some acrylic up there, just throw it up there, and really just get the basic idea on there. The very basic idea of what you want. And then you can paint over it with something similar to the Bob Ross technique. It's this wet on wet technique. You can get all the Bob Ross products and just acrylic at first. That way you get your own idea. So I made some brown here. I didn't tell you what I was doing. The brown here I made from red and green. Just those two colors that I made. Make a little red and green, and it turns into brown. So I want to make the top of the building. And right there is the top, and it's almost at a right angle. So I want to bring down the roof, and we'll make some shingles and things. But right now I'm just getting the basic layout of what I want everything to be. And this is a little detailed painting, but it's still an easy one. I think I've got a good idea of how to do this with everybody, so that we can all have some fun and good Sunday, and maybe think about the things that God made and think about how cool it is. People still have water wheels. Pretty neat. They even grain corn, ground corn, and they ground lots of things. They have wheat, and they have this great big stone inside, and you can take a tour of this place. If you ever come to Franklin County, you may want to take a tour of it. And it's called Falls Mills, and they have bags of corn, old-fashioned, great big, huge grinding stone, millstone, and it's been there for centuries, and it is so heavy, it's so big, but the water wheel is what turns this. And it's so neat to hear them explain and just take a little tour, and you'll see that people used to actually do this. They used to make all kinds of interesting things out of water power. They didn't have gasoline, so they didn't know about that yet. So I'm going to outline right here my spokes, and I want my spokes slightly off-centered and going into the water wheel somewhat. But the front of this water wheel should be smaller than the back. So if you want to make a line here, because you want to show some of the paddles, and that right there is going to be below the water. So if you want to stop there, you can. And then the water wheel just sort of gets bigger right there, bigger, and then there we are. It shows mostly the front, like so, and then you have the little spokes of the water, and you will have bits of water splashing and churning things of that sort. So you can even draw the bottom if you want to. You don't have to draw the bottom. It'll be painted over with water, with blue. Make a couple of spokes. There we are. Little round circle there. Little arm holding it on. And they also have a flume in Franklin County Falls Mills. And they have a flume that starts up at the top and it kind of angles out and upward. And it just splashes onto the water wheel. And that's what powers it. It runs the water from up here at a small fall stream type of a stream, and it just runs it downhill, and it goes around the building like so, and you want to make that angled bit. And this is up on a hill. So I'm going to paint some green. Just wiping my brush off. Wiping it off real good here. And painting some green. Because it's up on a hill. And the hill just suddenly goes down. And meanders around. Comes down right about in here. And painting green here, laying out that color. That's their nice landfall there. Maybe even mixing some of that green with some black. Try and make more of a hill and make it look natural. And then up here is a pathway, a walking pathway. And just paint that in green. And it's up on a hill. We have that there. This goes downhill. Just all of a sudden, sort of well, I guess they shoveled a whole bunch of dirt a very long time ago into this huge hill so that they could grind their corn, grind their wheat, and it still runs to this day. You can head out there, take a little guided tour. They'll tell you all about the place. How long it's been there, what century it was built in even. Very long time ago. Franklin County has a lot of historical places. Neat place to travel to. You can see lots of sights and scenes, and the old jail museum too. That was a interesting place. They had back in the Civil War, I think. I'm not sure, but a long time ago. And I'm going to make a few trees back here. Make a few trees. Lay that out a bit. Make a few little trees back in there. And I'm going to stop the trees right there, I think. I'm just getting a good idea of what I want to paint. And you may want to do something completely different. You may have ideas that I don't have. I would love it if you would comment on some of these videos and tell me maybe your ideas. I might find something y'all would let me want to paint for you. So send me a picture or two, send me anything you like, and we'll paint together. I would love that. And get the sides, save on the cost of framing. I always get the sides, that way this saves on the $125 to about $75 cost of framing. Small window here, and a small window here too. Just 2 or 3 windows in the bottom, just laying them out. Out the basic shapes. They have windows, and if they need to work on the water wheel, they have a window and a little porch kind of right there, So if you do travel here, you can go out on this little porch and look down and see the water just splashing into the water wheel. Very neat. I recommend anyone just take a little tour, a visit, all kinds of things they have. And there's the back of the water wheel. Make those spokes a little better. So you can paint it all in acrylic if you want to. You can do that. Or you can paint over with some liquid white or liquid clear once you get a good picture of it. And you can add detail, make it last longer, and it does tend to last longer if you have oils that you use on top of it. Okay, so I've got the flume. Now all I need is, I'm going to put some rocks down here. Put a few little rocks. Add some black. This is going to be a nice painting. I'm already feeling good about this. This already just has a good feel to it. Beautiful day today. Maybe even go out for a walk or hike. See the area, see nature. There's a lot of nature back in this place too. And some rocks in the stream. And back here in the painting, I can tell you, I won't be able to show you this, but it is there. It has a small pipe that runs up here, up to the flume, and from right about there, and it's pressured. The water that falls down the falls pushes it up the flume. It's actually runs up. Water runs up, so it doesn't happen very often, except when humans interfere. Some little rocks and things. There are the falls. Maybe some rocks here too, around the back of the falls. And I believe we are ready for some blue. I'll wipe off the black. Get it as dry as possible. Don't even have to wash the brush. And just get the rest of this area in blue that's I left open. You can probably tell where to put that at. Just right along in here. And your water, you want to come right about there. So you can paint over it. Might be slightly different colored, that's okay. You're just using this for an idea. An idea of where what things are, where what things go, where things go in your painting. Have your water wheel, the water house, the waterfall, trees, all of that. And there's a nice little waterfall. Right there. Splashing down. Maybe it's a little pool right there. Sort of splashes down some more. Pull that straight down. You can tell kind of from your brush strokes when you go over it with the liquid white, and it shows through a bit. It doesn't show through a whole lot, but that's what you're looking for. You need your idea from your acrylic that you've already put on here, and just do the details in it well. So maybe there's a little pool here or something. And it's a little different than the way Falls Mills looks, so it's about accurate, but it's just might be an easier version. Kind of added to my own take on their building they have there. Get all of this in blue. I'm just filling in and some blue. Making sure I get all of the blue so I can tell where it ended. Get the whole design there. And that looks good. Now let's make sure we know where the water is up here. We want to let it come down in the flume in the middle, and it sort of doesn't show for a while as this elbow just sort of extends. So just leave it open space, and barely, it shows more and more water, little at a time, right through there. And I'm going to see if I can paint a few little splashes to show you where the water falls onto the water wheel. And it just sort of splashes in there and then comes down. Begins to fall into the stream. And there we are. That looks pretty good. But we need a little more stability on where this building is here. Don't want to leave them on unstable ground. There, that looks good. I'm happy with that. Okay. Now I'm going to add some ivy, but I didn't put it in acrylics, and we're going to do a lot of detail today. So just really work with it. Let it dry, and I'll be back in a few. Hey y'all, this is Inez Lehman with Keeping It Clean Using the Smear Technique. We're back, and paint has dried. Got the acrylic all dried, got the design laid out, and I'm going to paint over it in some Bob Ross liquid white. Get the label around here, and I just have a nice big jar of Bob Ross liquid white. You can get this at blick.com, or you can get it on bobross.com. You can even get it on Amazon. You can pick up cans at your favorite paint store, painting supply store, and hopefully they carry it. You should carry a lot of this stuff. I'm just painting over it, getting a nice thin coat, just to get the canvas wet, because we want to use the Bob Ross technique as well, the wet on wet technique, as we paint over it the design that I made in acrylic. That's the smear technique. So you can just get the basic design out onto the canvas and your colors and things, and you should still be able to see a shape of and shades of the colors and the design that you made under the liquid white. If it's thin enough, you want to make sure that that liquid white is really thin, just a really thin, even coat. And you can see, I can see some of it just shading through on what I've already painted in acrylics. So just adding a nice coat, really thin and even, and you'll see vaguely some shapes, perhaps some of your design. And if it's too much, just keep pulling it down onto the rest of the canvas. If you have too much liquid white, and you just make little brush strokes over it, and it thins it out even more. Pull it onto the different parts of the canvas. Just pull the paint. And painting over the water, and some rocks there. You may be able to see this on camera, I'm not too sure, but it may not be able to be seen too well. Getting the greenery of the hill, painting over the water wheel, getting the canvas wet with oil paints to paint over it with some different colors and get more detail. You can also really take your time with this technique. If you really take your time, it can take a long time to make it detailed enough. You can almost make it look like a picture like an actual photo, you know, a photograph somebody's taken, and you just add detail for a very long time and just get little details, and it can even look real. Just painting the sides here. Now when I paint the sides, I usually go back about a 45-degree angle, maybe 15-degree angle. Not way back here, because you're going to fling paint around the room and it's going to get messy on you, on the walls. So just right about to right there. So you don't want to pull too hard on the brush on the sides of the canvas as the paint will fling all over the place. But you do want to paint the sides to make sure that to save on the major cost of framing. Framing costs quite a bit. It costs $125, $75. Bigger paintings can cost up to $200s. So if you want to get a nice design, paint a really good picture, all for yourself, hang it up on your wall, paint the sides. You paint the sides, that really saves you a lot of money, and it looks nice too. I mean, the picture just continues. So, painting the bottom here. I didn't paint the bottom in acrylics because it's just so basic. You can, if you'd like to, just pull the green down and add the green. Add the black of the rocks as well. And just right there, touch all that up and get another brush. Wipe my fingers off a bit. Okay, I'll show you the different colors that I have on my palette. Okay, today we are using titanium white from Dollar Rowney, Georgian Oils. I like their shades of paint. You may like others a little bit better. And black, ivory black. Also Dollar Rowney Georgian Oil. Sap green. I don't know if you can see that, but it's sap green. And I have, this one's hard to see, so I'll just tell you this one. Hopefully you can see it. It's French Ultramarine. French Ultramarine. And that one is a really nice dark blue, but not too dark. And this is Venetian Red. And here we have Raw Umber. It's a nice brown. Oh yes, I almost forgot. Little Lemon Yellow. And we pick up the palette. I like a nice big palette, good for mixing colors, making different things. And I'm going to use a little, going to go ahead and go with the same brush. I didn't change brushes. I just used the same one I was using, cover in liquid white. It's a Bob Ross 1-inch landscaping brush. And just a little of that French Ultramarine. And we're going to make the sky up here first. Just start at the corners. Starting at the corners there. And adding just a touch of color of that blue. Maybe you want to make some clouds. You can make some clouds in the sky. Starting at the corners does add to the pulls the eye inward. You get darker on the outer edges, and it pulls the eye inward, so it looks at the design on the canvas a little better. And I'm going to fluff up my clouds here. I just left a few blank spaces for some clouds, and just lay that flat. Just get a good color of the sky. We're not going to spend too much time on the sky today because I really want to get to this water wheel. This Falls Mills painting that I decided to do. Let's see. You're still using the same brush. go into some sap green, and it should be a little lighter shade, but this one, you want to pull it out and pull it downward and get enough and to sort of round that corner of the brush, make the trees, and show some big fluffy edges. Now see, I've rounded the corner of the brush. I'm going to press upward into the canvas, and it'll make some nice little leaves and leafies and branches and little branched areas. Perhaps it's been springtime and it's just budding. It's a very light green. You want to add a lighter green in the background than you have in the foreground, because it's lighter in the back, and as it comes forward, and I'm just following my design that I already laid out here. So part one's really essential, but the background, continuing with the background, the shades are lighter, and as they come forward into the foreground, then they get a little darker. So you may want a little more sap green, a little less white, because white was already on the brush, was what I was using. And a little darker here around the edges. We're going to cover up this and this part of the green with the building. And just adding some bushes, some trees back there, and tapping on the sides has the same effect. And we just make a few little rounded areas. When you're adding trees and bushes, you want to think individually. They're individual limbs, they're individual designs. You want to think about the shapes of the trees, one tree at a time. So I'm going to use a number 2 script liner from Bob Ross. And I'm just going into the raw umber, rolling it around real good. No need for paint thinner. Got a little white on my finger. Wipe that on the palette. And just make some branches in the tree trunks here and there. Maybe some are coming all the way up. And then here and there we have a nice little branch. Get a little darker color there. Need some umber, raw umber. And maybe 1 or 2 little limbs here and there. Just detailing what you've already got. And maybe another trunk right there, like that. Maybe it's an old tree, it's kind of fallen to the side. And just continues up. And there we are. Okay, I had to take a brief break there. Let's get back to the painting. I'm going to go for a number 6 landscaping fan. I'm going to add a little highlights to those trees right there. Really want to brighten them up. So I'm going to dip it in to a little Bob Ross liquid white. It's really nice and fluid-like, and just put some of that on my palette. Get some yellow. Lemon yellow is what I chose. And this should really add some brightness to your painting. Big bright sunshine. Just little dabs here and there. You know, perhaps where the sunshine hits it, just sort of makes a nice effect on the leaves, and really a lot of sunshine on this painting. I want to make it a bright, pretty one. Now start at the top when you start using your highlights, because it goes further down. As it goes further down into the tree, it's darker. It gets darker and darker. So just a little here and there toward the bottom. And just like that, you should have some really nice highlights. Perhaps some more there. A little out here on the edges, like that. That looks good. maybe just yellow. Let's add a little more yellow. There we are. That looks pretty nice. Not too bad. Not too bad with that. That's not bad at all. And maybe even a little red bush here and there. Some red trees or red bushes. And I'm going to get a little of that Venetian red just on the corner. Still using the same brush, but I've got it on the corner right there. And I'm just going to use that same edge, and this keeps your brushes clean so you don't have to clean so much. I'm just going to make some nice little bushes and things that are different colors and different shades. And you just pick out where you want that bush. Maybe I want mine right about there, right in there, and a little there. And that's about enough of that. I'm going to get carried away with the red, but it looks great though if you vary the colors. Next, I'm going to pick up a small palette knife. A small palette knife from Bob Ross. It's got a nice little edge at the top that you can use for the windows. And right down here, there's the regular blade. And we'll be using that for the bricks. And I'm just going to pull out some Venetian red. Pull it out flat. Oh, I almost forgot. I got to do the roof first. So, I want some black and some white. And make it kind of different color. Don't, just sort of marbled. Don't mix it completely. Just flatten that out. Pull it out and cut across. You should have a nice little roll of paint right there on the end of your palette knife. And lay out the edges. The edge right there. Gotta have a roof first before you can have a building, right? So pull that in a little. Make a nice little corner. And get some more of that. Make sure that I made of the black and white. Run it straight across as you can get it, and then pull down. And let's see, I want to go by my original drawing, original sketch on that I did on with the acrylics. Pull that out right about in there. That looks right. Try and go by what you do on the acrylics. You do that first. You want to make sure that you're going by that. That way you don't get lost in your painting and start making things blend together too much. But it does want, you do want to make some different colors up here on the roof, here and there. And we'll make some shingles using that small blade of the knife in just a second. I'm just laying that out, letting myself know where my roof is. Just taking a little ivory black and mixing it further right here. Make some darker areas, lighter areas of the roof, depending on how many years of wear and tear it's had. It's had a lot of rains, perhaps, seen a lot of winters. Yeah, it's been around a long time, but it's very nice and upkept with just some vines hanging off of it. We'll do that here in a second. And pull down, make the roof nice and even all the way across. Don't want any out of lines there. Get a little more black. Really fill that in. And just like that, you've got a roof. Got a really nice roof there. Bottom of it nice and straight. Nice and straight right there. There we are. Okay. That's coming together really nicely. I'm liking the way this is looking so far. It looks like we're gonna have a lot of fun on this one. Okay, let me wipe the palette knife off. And we get a smaller edge, using the smaller edge of the palette knife. And I'm just gonna make some little shingles here and there. Got some ivory black, a little mixture of white. Just making little shingles. You don't have to add a whole bunch. You can just skip this if you want to. You don't have to add shingles. But it just adds to the realistic look of the painting. And they're small ones. Try and keep them the same size so you can have them all in a row. Just make using the small end of the palette knife. Just scraping them in and adding a little black here and there. Make different tones. Different shingles look different and have them different colors. So they're not all the same. They're not all the same ones. So vary the colors. Stagger them. If you've ever drawn a brick house, you know, you draw the lines and then they kind of go between. You can do that. You can get as far as going and doing something like that. You don't have to though. I mean, you can add small squares that are just about in a line, but I doubt they'll be in a line because mine are certainly not. You can try for it if you want to, and it might look even better. I sure would like to see some of your paintings. I'd like to see some of what you do. I'd like to see how talented y'all are and how good you're getting. So that looks good. Varied the color a bit. And now I'm gonna go into, well, need a little black on there just to add to a tint. You're going to go into that Venetian red and just pull it out flat and get quite a bit of it on the palette knife, quite a bit. And we're going to pull down and get the whole building with probably just this amount is what I'm hoping for. You don't want to put too thick of a coat, but you want it to spread evenly and make sure it covers and looks a really nice shade of brick red, Venetian red. Kind of a brick. This is a brick building, so it needs to be brick red or Venetian red. And have a really nice outlining there of the roof. And get in all those spots. I wouldn't worry too much about the brick. You might want to, but we're gonna go over it in the sap green or I'm going to go over it with the sap green. But if you wanna leave out the vines, you can, and just focus on the brick. You can do it different ways. You can do this a couple of different times, even, and just do the brick detailed once and perhaps the vines detailed in the next. You do a bunch of different times. I'm just pulling down this color of the nice Venetian, making it nice and even and smooth. And down here we're going to have the water. It's going to be in the water a bit. And this is on a hill too, if I'm not incorrect. You can see that underneath. See that a bit. Get a little more Venetian and go around here. And you want to go inside the wheel. You don't want to add too much paint where you don't have to add paint, as it tends to cake up and kind of become a mess and you can't really get much detail once you get too much paint on the canvas. The less paint you've got on there, the better, and you can manipulate it better. And you can always put more on, but you can't take away. So you want to think about that too. And let's see, right here is another part of the building. And if you can see through this liquid white, should help out a lot in your outline. Now this is rough still, so we're not completely there. Still kind of rough. And there's the hill right there in view. Make things nice and solid color. Try to get this smoothed down. And there's the inside of the water wheel where you can see the building still, and the axle is right about in there. Axle that it turns on. And just outlining a bit more. Wipe off the palette knife. Make some little windows. Get a touch of the ivory black and pull it out. And just get a small dab of paint on the small edge of the knife. It's a little more there. Yeah, that's good. And I want to add small windows so it makes the whole building seem so much bigger, and it really makes it look old and just like pre 19th century or pre 20th century, I guess is what it is. Just add windows. There's some bigger ones at the bottom maybe, but the windows that were in the 1800s are much smaller because they didn't have heat and air conditioning, and they wanted the temperature to stay about the same. In the winter, it would freeze up. So I can tell you also a little history of this nice little place while I'm painting the windows. Paul's Mills. They had to turn off the water during the winter time, a long time ago, because it would freeze up and the wheel would just get iced over and be ruined. So they had to turn off the water, and no corn, anything like that could be ground in the winter. Just couldn't. I'm adding a small basement type of foundation for the powerhouse here, the Paul's Mills. And I've decided I want to add a few little bricks here and there on this side. So I am going to do that. That'll show you a bit. And you can just kind of scrape at the paint. I wouldn't add any color. If you have a little black on there, that's good. Keep it there. If you don't worry about it. Just, you can scratch it in. Scratch it into the paint, scrape it into the paint, scraping some of the color away. And it looks like brick a lot too. You can do it that way. Just some loose patterns of bricks, nothing really too detailed. If you can really get into it and want to make some detail, I'd go for it. It'd look great. I'd like to see it. And just making little bricks here and there. It's a nice Paul's Mills. And they shut it down every winter or else the water will ice over. So if you get there in the winter, I'm sorry, but they don't have the tours in the winter. So you'll have to go during the spring and summer. Really nice place, really nice people too. You can take pictures and take a picture and paint it. If you want to do that. A lot of times I go down there just to see what's new and take pictures, maybe once in a while on a tour. I sort of enjoy the tours. I like to hear it again. All right, got that side of that Falls Mills. And I want some brick on this side. So I'm gonna go sideways there. Get a little more detailed. I'm really wanting to have fun with this one, so I'm really taking my time. I hope this is not too long of a video for most of y'all, but you may have a lot of fun with it. You may really enjoy it. I want to do it again. So you take a painting like this and just spend hours on it, just having fun. And I'm making little bricks. I'm just scraping into the canvas, and you want to make these staggered, because when they stack a brick, they don't stack one on top of the other. They stagger them to make it more stable. I'm just scratching that into the paint, not adding anything, just taking away a bit. Very rare that you take away from a painting, but that's what the palette knife allows you to do. And it's the one knife that's used for creating, not destroying. Use it to make things. Use it to create things. Make something nice. And got some brick right there. Maybe a little brick through the water wheel as well. Trying to line that up. That in there better. Really saw it into the Venetian red there. And right here as well. Can't forget the side of the building. The hill's going to block out most of this part right here, but you'll get the flume, and this is a pretty accurate painting as to how Falls Mills looks. You go down there and you see a picture like this, and once you get finished, you see the finished painting, you'd be surprised. It looks a lot like this. You may enjoy the picture more. You may want to put that on your wall, but I think you can paint this. It's pretty nice. Just take a walk down there too. You can buy the mill. I mean, you not buy the mill, but you can buy the meal, the corn. It's ground up cornmeal, wheat, things like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Pretty happy with that. I'm just gonna make some more rows up here for the shingles. Add that little detail to that. But I like the different colors of the shingles because it makes them look more individual. You want to focus on each individual thing in your painting. I know it's overwhelming, but that's why the acrylic paint. Because it can be so overwhelming to just stand in front of a canvas and say, I want to do this, but I can't, because I can't get it all up there. Well, get your basic idea down, then go back and slowly do the details in oil. It's a whole lot more fun, and you already got your idea up there. Now I'm just fixing some more of the shingles. I have the color up there already. Really take some time on the shingles and the roof. And the little things in the painting is what will make it look real. And you may want to sell yours. I would not recommend you not do that. I would recommend you do that. Because if you have a good painting, I think you should sell it. Unless you want to decorate your house with it. And I have thousands of paintings. We change them out all the time. So you also get that problem. if you enjoy painting, you probably want to start selling your paintings. So that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Wipe off the palette knife. And I want some green. Some nice little vines of green. So I'm going to use a brush that Bob Ross doesn't make. He made this one. It's a Bob Ross filbert brush, but it's called a deer-footed filbert. And it's where you take the end of the bristles and you sort of press them up against something, perhaps a box that's just a little too small, and you just sort of mash them in that direction. And it's a deer-footed filbert. And it gives you a nice pattern for the green that we're going to do. You're going into the sap green, just tapping it in there. And I want quite a bit on the bristles, and I'm going to add a little liquid white too, so that the paint flows really nicely and just adds to the canvas a lot easier. Because we already have one color up there, we need something a little thinner to really make it stick. So let's add those vines. And I know we took a lot of time on this part, but gotta add some ivy around. And going back into the green. Watch out for that black though. The black kind of wants to hang on to the brush. And it's just growing up the side. Sort of making it look older. And that deer-footed filbert adds you a really nice, I guess, leafy look to the ivy. It really makes it look like individual leaves in the ivy. And adding some there, maybe across that window right there too. And just about got it. I don't want to add too much ivy. It's starting to take over, just like ivy does. I'm going to go into a little paint thinner. I'm going to go into a little paint thinner and add that to the green that I already have on my brush. Paint thinner thins down the color and makes it more runny and liquid, and it also helps it stick to the canvas a little better, easier, rather than stick to the brush. So I put that right there. I just dip that into some paint thinner. I need a little more. And make it really nice and liquid, just like a liquid white, except it's green. And, ooh, that's better. Really shape out your ivy. Make it thin out, go around the edges, all down the building, all around the windows. Go into some of that sap green again. I'm getting a little thicker here, so if you want to keep going, you can just add a little more paint thinner here and there to the mixture of sap green and white, or you can just go directly into the sap green. Perhaps it goes up onto the roof somewhat. Now that's going to be a little more difficult because the black wants to interfere with that color that I have, the green. So not too much on the roof, but maybe just a bit, just a little. You'll have to keep touching it up because your color will want to turn. It will want to turn black. I add a little highlight to my ivy. Getting some yellow. Lighter patches and darker spots. And there we are. That looks pretty nice. Doesn't look bad at all. And I'm going to make some little stems of the ivy. Taking a Bob Ross script liner and just go into the raw umber, rolling it around, and small stems. You just want small little vines creeping upward, leading off maybe some dried ones where it's died off a bit, and creeps upward on top of the roof. And there are vines everywhere. Really take your time. You can make anything. Make all different kinds of stuff. And I know this is a really detailed painting and it's taken a while. So if you stick with me and you have a good design already, I promise you'll be astounded with the results. You'll enjoy it. Probably want to hang this one on your wall. And you may want to sell it too. Might want to paint two of them. So I'm just making a little traces here through there for the ivy. Little sticks here and there. Little stems. Just sort of hanging off. And you don't have to get too much paint on there. If you can just wipe away some of that green even. It helps the overall feel of it. And you got a little vine that wants to zigzag everywhere. How about that? Got a little vine that just all over the place. There we go. That's not too bad. I'm pretty happy with that one. And you want to grab the small palette knife again, and we're going to make the water wheel and the flume. I'm going to do the flume first because it's a darker color, because it's more forward, I believe, and I'll try to show some of the water in it. I want to leave a space for the blue, so don't cover up your flume completely. Just pulling that black out flat, cut across. Get a little roll of paint. I don't know if you can see that too well. And the flume starts back here and it goes out and down. And then it comes this direction to the foreground and then it pulls down. And you just take a palette knife, add some black right there. You might be able to see some of the water, but it's starting to look like I'm not going to be able to see much water at all in my painting. You may be able to, but my flume is a little too tall. It's a little tall for me to show the water in it. You can, or you can do a different angle of this painting even. And pull down slightly. And I can show the water right through here. It'll look pretty good. Give you the general idea of how the water wheel works. Because if it's in your painting, it's got to make sense how it works. That's why I recommend taking a tour there and just taking a little look around. Maybe I can put some water right there. I'll try to. And nice black flume. A little water to travel in. That's looking pretty good. Alright. Pretty happy with that. So, go into the raw umber, You still have some black on there. This is the easy part, making the wheel. I know you think it might not be easy, but it's really easy. Just get a nice big amount, large amount of raw umber and black. And you just want to start right here in the back and think about where the wheel goes. Think about the angle you have it at and just go around in a circle and down. And you want to go around and down and pull to a point. And then you want to go up to the front. Don't get the whole wheel, just a bit. One on the other side. Have another circle on the other side. Make it to a stopping point there. And just curve it on around. Just really work with it. And you can make a nice water wheel. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to go ahead and pull all of that on around. And really make that look nice. There we go. And what you do with the knife is you then scrape around. You want to pull it down into the water, but you want to leave some of that paint right where it's at on the water, because it will look like it's a shadow or reflection in the water of the wheel itself. And I'm just going to use a palette knife to put a little axle here in the center. And it's got a large pole that extends to the building. Make a nice round circle there. And do some axles. Pull out some raw umber, make it flat, cut across. And it goes right there, up a bit. Got a lot of points there. It's a very large wheel for a lot of machinery. Maybe some in the background behind it. Or made a mess there, but that's okay. I usually have one or two mistakes. I make every painting. I know my mistakes. I know when I make my mistakes. And sort of make some in the background. Right there. Make some spokes in the background as well as in the foreground. Now, add a little more color there. Okay, so then you have the paddles of the water wheel. And you just make little lines, go down into the water, and right there. But on the back side, you can't see that angle, so we're just leaving it like that. Now, we get to do the hillside. Get to do a bit of the hillside there. Let's get into some sap green. I want a different brush. I'm going to use the Bob Ross round brush, and I want to dip it in some paint thinner so that it will take the green better and take to that green really well, and also stick on the canvas a little better. So I'm going to make my hillside a little green. Just tapping it into the canvas as you also tapped it into the palette. I should have showed you that. I'll show you that right now. But you just tap into the canvas with this type of brush Just tap into it, get the paint on the end of the bristles. And this is a nice, lush sap green. Wants to really look bright, summer and sun. Really making a nice color for that hillside. You can cover up a little bit of the edges of the plume and make it a little extra ivy if you wanted to. Just sort of coming off the hill if you want to. Do all kinds of effects. I'm gradually seeing things that I could have done once I'm finished, so I can tell you them after I'm already finished if you haven't gotten there just yet. And I'm gonna make some grass down here too. And they keep this mowed, so I don't want to insult their mower or anything, but this is probably more grass than what I should have put on here. I'm sure they have a really nice lawnmower. And it's getting a little too light, so I want that a bit darker here and there. Add some darker patches. Really vary the tone. And make it look different. Makes it look more real if you add different shades of different colors. And that's looking pretty good. And I'm gonna have to paint the bottom now. So just lift it up, grab it with your thumb and your first finger in the back, and just tap into the canvas at the bottom. I try to do something really basic at the bottom. That way it's not too hard to add to it. And also, once you set it back down on the easel to paint the rest of it, it's not going to matter an awful lot, but it really saves you time because it does get smeared a little, but you can just put in a basic color or a basic shape right there. So grab the 1-inch brush, Bob Ross, just a fresh clean brush. I'm going to go into the French Ultramarine, just loading it on both sides. And this is a really nice blue. And I want to make my water. Don't wipe out the building. And also make the blue come around and down through here. And my rocks that I left right there. And you can shape this, but I just wanted to get the color on there. And I have a small pool here. You can vary the colors, the shades of blue in the water, make it look different depths. Darker colors or deeper depths, and your lighter colors or shallows. And this is a splashy stream, so we're not going to add a gleam to it. We're just going to lay out the basic color of the blue. There's a lot of splashing in this stream. It's a fast flowing water, so it doesn't have time to sit there and get a gleam on it from the sun. It's going to be really swift water, a lot of white. And splashing down right about there too. Just laying out my idea. And there's my nice pond. I want it really deep through here. So I'm going to add some blue. Darker. Yeah, that's about right. like it a little different colors. I'm going to touch over that with some more of the green so it doesn't have that single edge, and it looks a lot more like a bank. I probably should have done the blue first, but I got a little excited with the green. Here we are. That's not too bad at all. And I'm going to use a small number 3 fan for the white, the titanium white. And let's get both sides of the white, using a fair amount. And I'm going to have some splashing. Maybe it comes right around here, splashes upward a bit, splashes on some rocks, goes down, falls again, falls all the way down. Really a lot of fast moving water, a lot of pressure to turn that big wheel. And the millstone in there, I'm not for sure. I've been out there numerous times to hear tours, and they are very informative. But I've just forgotten how much the stone that turns, that grinds the meal actually weighs. But I think it's somewhere around 5 tons. Huge stone. And it just turns around and it mashes and pulverizes the corn and the wheat so that people can make breads and kinds of stuff like that. So just add little areas of water and little splashes at the bottom. As you pull down, you can make some splashing sounds or something. Just make a nice little bubbling stream. And making some nice little effects there against the building. And see this is kind of where the color of the water wheel adds to the color of the water, and it makes it look more realistic. Now I'll go back in and do something with the bank there with the palette knife in just a moment. I'll do that in a minute. There's a lot of splashing in this stream. Very fast moving water. And maybe some splashing off this side as well. And can't forget, we have water on the water wheel. So I'm taking a filbert, just a regular Bob Ross filbert brush, and going into some of the French ultramarine. I'm going to make that water right down through here in the flume, and start a small amount of water, and it should show more and more as you get toward the front of the flume. Got a little smear. Got a little too black. There we go, that's better. A little more blue. And just want to put a little water there and then pull it down, and it should splash into the water just little by little. With the blue, just over the paddles. And you can add a little titanium white with the number 3 Bob Ross fan brush. And just want to add little splashes of titanium white into that blue. Perhaps it flips over a bit and splashes, and then flips again and then splashes some more. And it flips all the way down. That's looking a little too gray. I want that a little more blue. There we are, that's better. Get smaller splashes up the top. And going to some more titanium white, just using the same brush. Trying to keep it clean. Not using too much time to clean. Keeping it clean while you're going also helps with the cleanup process too. And that's looking really good. Pretty happy with that one. Then I want to make some rocks. Make a big rock down here at the end. Just a small palette knife. Got a bit of ivory black on it. Little small roll. And try to grip it to where your painting won't be messed up. It won't distract from any of the scenery you've already made. You could paint over where your finger was too if you want to do that. If you really want to get detailed, you could probably do that as well. If you really impressed yourself with this one, then you could do something like that. You could paint over that little portion where you put your thumb. And just making a nice little rock here. And I'm just putting it onto the bottom and making sure that the area is covered. And just like that, you have a finished painting. Hope you had a good time with this one. This is Inez Lehman and Keeping It Clean. I'll see you.